What is up? What is up? What is up? All right. So, in this video, I want to kind of just run down the 1% daily planner and kind of just give a brief. All right. What is up? Hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm going to make this video fairly brief. My goal is to kind of run down the 1% daily planner, kind of explain to you the benefits of using this planner every single day, and just show you the different areas of the planner, why I made the planner in this way, and basically the overall benefits to you. So first of all, the 1% daily, the 1% better daily planner. Why does this even exist? If you've seen any of my content at all, any of my time management content, one of the things I recommend people do the most, if you want to get productive, if you want to get more things done, if you want to have a more fulfilling life, is get a planner and use the planner every single day. And there's a certain way I think people should use a planner, which I'm going to get into soon. But in the grand scheme of things, having a planner, to me, is one of the best tools you can have in your arsenal to have a more successful, fulfilling, productive, happy life. And it's very basic, very simple to use, but very effective. So that is sort of the reason why I created this planner. It's sort of a way to kind of abide by all of the different techniques that I recommend to people and utilize them every single day. And this doesn't require you to buy any expensive calendars or any expensive planners. I used to use physical planners, and they're not expensive, but relatively speaking, they can be a bit expensive. Like, you can go to the dollar store and get a planner, and they're okay. I've seen a few that are good at the dollar store, and I've seen plenty that are just awful. And by awful, I mean they're just like, it's just basically a journal, like journal paper, just lines. The lines are a bit too small to really write anything down. There's no real calendar, or the calendar's like super tiny, so you can't really like see the dates or put anything in the dates. It's not the best planner. It's something. It's better than nothing, but it is something. But it's not great. And then I've seen like some really good planners, but they tend to be expensive, like $20, $30. I know not like expensive in the grand scheme of things you can buy, but for just a book of paper, expensive. And my thought process was, there's no need for these planners to be so expensive. I know there's a cost to produce things. I know there's a cost to kind of put them in stores. I get that, and they mark it up. Totally understand. But in the grand scheme of things, a planner should just be available online for people for free to use at their convenience. So that is why I made this 1% better daily planner. So I'm going to go through every single section, explain why the sections are here. Some of the sections are not extremely important. They're helpful, but not super important. And then some are, in my opinion, very important. So I'll get into that. So we have the 1% better daily planner. And hopefully you can see this okay. I'm using like screen capture software to show you this, so hopefully it's not messing up. But we're going to start off at the very top, the date. And by the way, before I get too deep into it, I'm just going to kind of give you a brief sneak peek. As you can see, there's a sheet for each day of the week, Monday through Sunday. So what I honestly recommend is I would just print out as many of these as you want. So you can print out like a ton of Mondays, like at least 4 Mondays, of course, for each Monday of the week. 4 of Tuesdays, you get the point. And I would also print like 30 of these at a time, like one for every single day if you want, or you can at least print like once, like one per day of the week. And I'm going to explain why in just a second. But at the very top, we have sort of the date. Very straightforward stuff. This is good if you're printing out tons of copies at once. You want to keep track of the dates. And you can also kind of keep track of the exact day, kind of right here, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The mood. This isn't super necessary, but I think it's helpful to keep track of your moods. Like if you, say for example, kind of go back. Say for example, you've been doing this for about 3 months, and you go back and 3 months ago, you notice that for a whole month, you were just like sad, like really sad. It's helpful to go back and see what you were doing at that time. Like, what did you have planned? What were your goals? What did you actually get done? What exercise did you do? Does that make sense? This almost acts as a journal, this kind of cover page for each day. So yeah, like I said, you don't have to keep track of your mood, but I think it helps to keep track of your mood. This box right here is simply for quotes. If you can find a good quote, or if something resonates with you, you can kind of write it down. When you write things down, it increases the chance of you retaining it by physically writing things out. I know a lot of people like to type things out nowadays, and I think typing has its uses. It is practical, but the best thing you can do is write things out by hand if you want to increase the chances of retaining the information. So this is kind of what this box is used for. I'm going to start from the left column and work my way to the right. Exercise, just kind of good to keep in mind. Again, it's good to track things out. It's good to write it out. How many steps did you do? How much did you exercise? Random note, if you're watching this, as you're watching this, it's usually recommended that you take about 10 to 20,000 steps, 10,000 to 20,000 steps per day. So this will help you kind of keep track of that. And it's super easy to keep track of your steps. A lot of people get fancy, like watches, like those Apple watches or Fitbits, things like that. Your phone, for the most part, and I don't know how accurate it is, but it seems relatively accurate. If you have like an iPhone, and I'm sure on Android you can probably do the same, it has software that tracks how far you've moved, and it tracks like the vibration of you walking to translate that into a footstep. So as long as you're holding the phone, or if it's in your pocket or on your person, it tracks your steps. You don't have to buy extra stuff to track your steps, like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch. So you can always keep track of your steps. And these things, I think this whole column, to me, is sort of almost like a mood tracker and a habit tracker. Like before you even get into the goals, before you get into the execution of things or what you plan on doing, this whole section right here is just about your daily habits that ultimately lead to you having a more successful, fulfilled, happier life. Like, say it's October, or say it's November, but you've been doing your planner since October. You review your October planner like every single day, and you've noticed that in October your mood was like meh. Like, I said this already, but I want to kind of reiterate this because I think it's important. If your mood was like, say, meh, or you're sad or super unhappy, it's helpful to go back and try to figure out why. Like, why was I unhappy? Was I unhappy, or why was I unproductive? Was I unproductive because I wasn't happy? Was I unhappy because I wasn't productive? Were there other things in my life that were making me unhappy or making me unproductive? Did I exercise as much as I wanted to? Did I drink as much water as I wanted to? Did I eat the things that I wanted to eat? Did I plan my meals? I think these things are all important to kind of maintaining and building kind of a higher quality lifestyle, keeping track of your mood, keeping track of the things you read, the pieces of information that are useful to you, the exercise that you perform every single day, the water that you intake every single day. So this is kind of what this column is for. Then you have the meal tracker. Some people don't plan their meals out, myself included. I don't really track my meals, and I don't really plan my meals. I kind of eat the same thing like every day, so it's not much planning involved. But I do think it's useful to sort of keep track of what you eat, and then also primarily keep track of the calories that you intake. I think that's a habit that's worth getting into. Like I've been doing meal tracking for years, so for me it's a bit different because I have a general idea of how many calories things are, and I can sort of just remember what I eat because I don't eat that much during the day. Like, I'll probably have like 2 meals in a day, maybe 3, but not like big meals, like very simple meals. So it's easier for me to do, but it helps to at least get into the habit of tracking or being mindful of the things you digest, especially if you have a goal of gaining muscle or losing body fat, losing weight, getting in better shape. It's helpful to keep track of the things you eat. And as a slight tangent, the foods you eat, in my opinion, and the exercise you perform heavily affect your productivity. I know that might sound weird to people, but I personally find that if you eat like junk food all the time, you're going to feel bloated, you're going to feel lethargic, you're not going to feel... You're kind of going to get these like weird insulin spikes, and like your brain's going to feel foggy a lot. And of course, if your brain's foggy, if you feel lethargic and all of that, it's going to affect your productivity. It's going to affect your mood. It's going to affect how much you want to get things done. So something to keep track of and be mindful of. And then this one down here, again, I think seems, I feel like people aren't going to think it's very important, but if you've taken my Better Life Blueprint program, one of the things I think people should do more of in order to maintain a sort of positive mindset is share what they're grateful for. Like, look for gratitude, look for things to be happy about. I think if you can always think about what to be grateful for, it puts your default mindset in a more positive state. And when it's in a more positive state, it allows you to get more things done. A few years ago, back in college, when I was doing College Conqueror, there's a lot of research on seeking gratitude. And when you seek gratitude, it puts you in more of a growth mindset. It puts you in a healthier mindset. It allows you to seek wins in your life. And when you start seeking wins, you win more. Does that make sense? So, very underrated being grateful, but heavily useful. And I haven't numbered them, but I typically recommend look for like 2 to 5 things every single day to be grateful for. And they can be basic things. That's the funny part. Like, you can be grateful for very basic things that you might probably take for granted. Like, waking up to me is already one thing you can be grateful for because you haven't died and it's one more day that you can try to get more things done. So that's one thing right there. If you have a car, I do this all the time. If you drive a car, like me personally, I had an old Hyundai Tucson, Hyundai 2009. I think it was a 2009 Hyundai Tucson, and the air didn't work. The air didn't work and the heat didn't work. So when I was doing real estate, it was actually awful. When I was doing real estate primarily, it was awful because during the winter, I would have to like super bundle up and then you risk getting like super sweaty. It's just not comfortable. You can't take people in your car because you feel embarrassed by having someone sit in your car and the air's not working and the heat didn't work. I never fixed it just because I had always planned on getting a new car. And to me, the cost of trying to fix up such an old car that had other things wrong with it too just wasn't worth it. But eventually I got a new car. I got a Chevy Camaro right now because I wanted that car for a while and just procrastinated on buying it because I didn't really need it. I just wanted it. And eventually when I got it, and to this day I still think about this, I'm always grateful when I turn on my heat or my air because I remember what it was like to not have heat during the winter or to not have air during the summer, which is brutal, by the way. It's horrible. So always grateful for that. And I think it's good for people to get in that mindset of even the little things they take for granted, be grateful for it. Like if you have to go to work, a lot of people hate their job. They say, oh, I have to go to work. I think it's good to be grateful for going to work because there's a lot of people that actively look for jobs and they cannot find a job, or they're underqualified and they struggle to find jobs, or they make no money, or they live in an area of the planet where the job they have is super sucky. Like they might make like $300 a month or less than that. And if you're watching this, you probably at least have a decent job where you can afford the internet. So I don't know. I think it's good to just be grateful about everything, even the little things, and especially the things that we often take for granted. Kind of a little side tangent right there. So working our way back up to the next column, quarterly goals. Now, what I always tell people when I have time management clients, you need to have a goal. And this sounds super basic and super straightforward, but there's so many people that do not have goals in life. And I'm not judging people who don't have goals. I totally get that. I think a lot of people focus on the day-to-day that it's tough to set aside time to really figure out what your long-term goals are. Totally get that. You need to have long-term goals for your life. I like to, my personal suggestion to people is have a goal that's 50 years out, 50, 40 years, depending on your age. And then work your way backwards, reverse engineer things. So for example, just random goal. If your goal is by the time you're 50 to be a millionaire, reverse engineer that process. What would it take for you to do every single year to be a millionaire by the age of 50? Say you're 30 right now, you want to be a millionaire by 50. What would it take every single year to be a millionaire? And then from there, break it down even further. And that doesn't mean you have to be right. You might not actually know how to do it, but I think getting the brain working and trying to figure out how to do it is the best strategy to actually getting it done. And so then once you kind of reverse engineer things and you go, what do I have to do every single year to achieve this goal? Then you break it down. What do I have to do every single quarter to achieve this goal? And I think a quarter is a lot more, it's close enough where the objective is kind of within reach, but it's also far enough away where you can kind of manage your expectations effectively. Like if you made a goal to say, I want to be making 10K a month by tomorrow, it's a bit unrealistic. Unless you already were on track to do that, or unless you had some mechanism that you could slightly tweak to get there, like a job that was, say, making you $8,000 a month and maybe a small tweak could make you 10K a month, you're not going to probably do it in one day. But if you make zero a month right now, and your goal is to make 10K a month by the end of the quarter in, say, 3 months, it's a lot more doable. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a struggle. I'm not saying it wouldn't be difficult. But I am saying it's more reasonable of a goal than trying to do things too quickly, like tomorrow or next week. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I think everyone should have goals in all three categories. I've explained this before, but I like to help people with the concept of eudaimonia. I think when you hear the concept and understand how it works, it makes sense. But I think people don't keep the core of what the concept involves at the front of their minds. And I think that's when people start to get lost in life, because they're not thinking about what eudaimonia is. And if you're unfamiliar with eudaimonia, eudaimonia is basically the flourishing life. And the flourishing life is composed of high quality health, high quality wealth, and high quality relationships. Not in that order, but in general, I think that's the order people should pursue eudaimonia in. I think it's the most reasonable way to go about it. And it depends on who you are and where you're at in life. But I think in general, for most people, that's the most reasonable way to go about it, in my opinion. So, figure out what your health goals are. Your quarterly health goals could be like, I want to lose 15 pounds this quarter, or I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle. I want to have good enough cardio to run a marathon. It could be anything. Health goals could even be, I want to have contact lenses by the end of the quarter. That's a health goal. It's your eye health. I want to be able to hear better. I want to find a way to have less allergies. Maybe your nose is always stuffy like mine is, and you take the quarter to do research on how to make your nose less stuffy. And maybe you have a deviated, I'm kind of going on a tangent, but to me, these are examples of health goals. Maybe you have like a deviated septum and you know that you have to get surgery, or maybe you just need some nasal spray and that's all you need to clear out your nose. Hopefully you get the point. Come up with quarterly health goals, quarterly wealth goals, and quarterly relationship goals. And then these are small, like little notes. One more thing. The reason why I say come up with these goals too is because the goals influence what you're going to be doing daily. If you don't have a goal, there's no way you can really come up with daily activities, because the daily activities are to get you to the goal. But if you have no goal, then there's nothing you really need to be doing every single day. You can sort of just coast the entire day, which sounds good on paper. It sounds great. Like, oh, I get to just coast and just enjoy the day. It's not a good thing. I truly believe that having a goal in life makes you happy, and the discipline to achieve the goal is what makes you free. So if you're not pursuing something, it's almost like the saying, when you stop growing, you begin dying. I think that's true. And in order for you to be growing, you have to always be pursuing something, some kind of goal, anything. These three sections, health, wealth, and relationship goals, ensure that you're always growing and that you're always staying alive. Hopefully that makes sense. Then you have to call or email. And these are just like kind of quick notes. If you say you want to meet up with a friend or some acquaintance or someone that you haven't contacted in a while, this section's a quick way to just jot down, talk to Jonathan, talk to Franklin about, Franklin's a real estate agent. Let me ask Franklin about buying a house. Let me just write that down real quick. I have to call or email him. I met this guy at my job and he has some like networking opportunity or something. Let me call or email him. Ooh, I met this girl the other day and I want to take her out on a date. Let me call her, email her to take her out on a date. These are just a little section for you to just quickly jot down people that you might want to call or email that kind of quickly come into your life, or that you might think of at a glance or at a quick moment's notice, but for whatever reason, you probably didn't put in your phone, or, maybe this is all you had around. It's just a little quick note section. So don't think too much about it. Real quick, a reason why I put this is because I think And this kind of gets into relationship goals and your relationship pillar, which I do talk about in the Better Life Blueprint. If you haven't taken that, take it. I'm biased, but I think it's great. I think it's a great course. If you're watching this, by the way, if you shoot me a DM or an email, I think I charge like $9.97 for it, which I know is expensive. If you send me an email or a DM and you just want it, let me know. I'll give it to you for free. Totally happy to give it to you for free. But just if I give it to you for free, actually go through the program and actually let it benefit your life. Don't be that guy who like gets something for free and diminishes the value of it because they got it for free and then doesn't use it. That's wasteful. So if that happens, I won't give it to people for free. That's why I charge in the first place, so people actually use the program. But one of the things I say in the program is that relationships is arguably one of the most valuable pillars to build up. And I don't want to get too deep into a long tangent, but everything great in life comes at the end of a high quality relationship. Health in itself is good, and health is the main thing you should be thinking about initially, but health will only get you so far. You being in great shape only does so much for you. It helps you in one area, being healthy. Money. People think that you can kind of buy relationships or buy things like that. Not really. There are some people that are not motivated by money directly, who are not impressed by money. Your money cannot influence them. Your money cannot buy them. And for in some situations, your money cannot get you what you want, or at least not easily. I think relationships is the key to getting what you want. I think it's the key to getting what you want more easily, and I think it's the key to getting what you want more effectively. Without me going on, again, too deep on a tangent, because I talk about this stuff in the Better Life Blueprint, a quick story, or I guess a quick example. Imagine you wanted to get into a bar, and say the bar was super full. The bar's full, and the line is like all the way down the street. There's a few ways you can probably get into the bar. You can do what everyone else is going to do, and you can wait in line for hours, maybe, and potentially not even get in, because by the time you get to the front, the bar might be closed. So you'll miss out. That's what most people do. They just miss out because they wait too long, or they don't have other options. So you can wait in line. That's one way. The second thing you can do is you can try to pay your way in. There might be a guy at the front, a door guy, and you might try to pay to cut the line. Now, if the bar is popular and if the line's long enough, you know the price is not going to be cheap. You might have to pay $100, which for you might not be much. You might have to pay $1,000. Again, might not be much. You might have to pay $10,000. And at some point you have to decide, is the price I'm going to pay to get in this bar worth it? It's up to you. The third way is you can find a way to sneak in. Maybe there's a window in the back or some kind of back door. I remember a kind of funny story years ago. I think like 3 years ago. Me and my friend were there's an area called Clarendon, in kind of Northern Virginia, kind of near DC, if you're familiar with this area at all. There's a bar that was really cool, like a rooftop bar. And me and my friend, you had to wait in line, and me and my friend like found a way in the back up a staircase to like the top of the roof. And we snuck in and went through the back, and like we went in for a little bit until eventually the door guys realized that we snuck in and they kicked us out. But that's one way to do it. You can sneak in through the back or through a window. That can work, but it's high risk, potentially high reward, because it might not be high reward. It might be low reward. So if you sneak in, there is a chance you could get caught. And of course, if you get caught, there are consequences to being caught. And then there's the fourth way, and I think this is the best way. The best way is to just know the owner or know the manager. If you know the owner or know the manager, he or she will probably just let you in for free. You cut the line, you do not have to pay, you don't get in trouble, and on top of that, you probably get benefits or some kind of perks. If the owner or the manager knows you, you might get a free drink. You might get a song request from the DJ. He might show you some new people. He might be like, oh, you came tonight? Cool. Meet my friend Johnny, meet my friend Jimmy, meet my friend Tommy, meet my friend Timmy. Does that make sense? Do you understand this? So having good relationships is the best way to go in the grand scheme of things, in my personal opinion. So just a quick other reason why this call or email section is important. It's good to keep in contact with people. Notes, straightforward. If a note comes to mind, write it down. I recommend when things come to mind, ideas, just write them down. If you can write them in your phone, write them in your phone. If you can write them on paper, I think that's even better. And I'm gonna share why. I'm gonna share first where it comes from and why that's important. I watched a documentary by Richard Branson, and this is true for a lot of billionaires and millionaires, not just him, but he's the first person I heard about this idea from. Richard Branson would say that when he was trying to get rich, and for the record, if you don't know Richard Branson, he's like this billionaire in, I think, the UK, owner of like the Virgin brand. So if you've heard of Virgin Mobile, Virgin, I think he has like a music production studio, Virgin Productions, I think is what it's called, Virgin Airlines. If you hear the word Virgin, it has like a red cursive way they write Virgin. If you hear that on anything, he owns it. Most likely, Richard Branson owns it. So what he would do is he said he'd come up with ideas, and when the idea came to mind, he'd make sure to write them out as quickly as possible. And the reason why he'd write them out is because he didn't want to lose what could be $1 million idea. I realized when I heard that story that I have ideas all the time, and I'm sure you do as well. We all have ideas, but we all let our ideas kind of slip through our fingers because we don't write them out, or we don't even keep track of them. Now, in the past, and the reason why I say you should write it is because in the past, I did try to use my phone to keep track of my ideas. But the issue I found with that is if you have an idea and you pull out your phone and like a random notepad, nowadays it's a bit simpler. Like you can probably use Notion, like the app Notion. You can probably just have a Google Doc designated to your ideas and like name it very well. And I'm specifying name it very well. Because when I would do it, I would just pull out a note, write the idea, put the note away. I wouldn't think about naming it because I was more concerned about saving the idea. And it kind of backfired on me because I couldn't find the notes. When I wanted to go look for them, I couldn't find them. And it was also difficult to remember that I even wrote the note in the first place because it's on my phone. It's not obvious. If you write things out, though, it's easier to kind of reflect and say, oh, yeah, I forgot about that idea that I wrote in like 10 seconds one time when I was watching Netflix with my girlfriend. Does that make sense? So it's easier to recall the ideas and it's easier to find the ideas, which is why I think writing it out is a much better tactic when compared to just putting it in your phone or putting it in some app on your phone or like your iPad or something. So hopefully that makes sense. Next, we talked about kind of monitoring your mood. Weather, I think, is a part of that. It's a personal thing to keep track of. It's not that necessary, but I think it helps to kind of keep track of the weather. And I say this because I've noticed that on days when it's sunny or out and I actually go outside and get more vitamin D, like natural vitamin D, not supplement vitamin D, I feel better. And when I feel better, I perform better. So it's one of those things where you can kind of get an idea of how you perform by just keeping track of little things like this. Like for you, you love rainy days because rainy days are a way for you to kind of decompress, stay inside, and maybe get more work done. Totally fine. It's good to keep track of it. If you look back and you say it's, again, November, December, and you look back in October, and you say to yourself, man, in October, I was super productive. You can go back and say, oh, why was I so productive? I was like nailing all of my targets. I was destroying my goals, but the weather was also rainy, like all of October this year for some reason. Cool. Now you know that next time it gets rainy, that's a work day. That's a day where you stay inside and you just work to get stuff done. If you choose to do that, if you want to do that. And you know that on days where it's like sunny, that might be a day where you can work a little bit, but you're not going to be that productive. So you're not going to like stress yourself out if you don't get stuff done because that's just how your body is. That's how you are, which is totally okay. The idea is just to keep track of what makes you work best. This is in my old time management course, Time Management Mastery, the original course, which you should have access to. If you have this, you probably should have access to. If not, shoot me an email or shoot me a DM. I'll just give it to you for free. I think I sell it for like $80 right now. At the time of this video, at least. I think it's like $80. In that course, one of the things I recommend to people is find your prime time. And basically your prime time, and it's slightly related to the weather, but it's not super related, but it kind of is related. There's a little bit of a parallel. Your prime time is the time during the day that you can most effectively do a certain task. So for example, if you work out in the morning, well, I'll say it this way. I personally don't like working out in the afternoon. I like the afternoons to be kind of creative productive. Like I like to write in the afternoon, and I like to do video editing in the afternoon. Or if I have coaching clients, I like to do those in the afternoon. I like to do like the more technical things, the things that require a lot of thought and are more energy draining in the morning. And to me, the most energy draining thing to do, one of the hardest things to get yourself to do, is go to the gym. So I'd like to do it in the morning, first thing in the morning. I just feel like I'm more productive that way. And I feel like if I work out first, I'm more productive the entire day. Whereas if I don't work out first in the morning, it's hard for me to get the first productive task done that's not like workout related. It's hard for me to get that done. And I don't have the same momentum throughout the day as I would have had I gone to the gym first thing in the morning. Hopefully I didn't like butcher that sentence. But the reason is because my prime time for the gym is early in the morning before I eat, before everything. It's my prime time for the gym. For you, your prime time for like the gym, if you go to the gym, could be in the afternoon. Or your prime time, if you like to write like articles or work on your business, could be early in the morning. If you're familiar with Alex Hormozi at all, very popular entrepreneur. If you haven't heard of him, I'm surprised. But now that I've mentioned him, go look him up. He has great content. I'm pretty sure in a few videos I've seen by him, he says that he likes to wake up in the morning and he likes to just work until like, I think 12 or 1 p.m. Just work straight through. And then after he finishes the work, then he does his meetings, and I think he does them on certain days only. And then he stops either when he's tired or he'll stop around like 4 or 5 and then just enjoy the rest of his day. I think I heard something like that. Don't quote me. I'm pretty sure I've heard him say something like that. But the point that I want to make, regardless of what he actually said, is that he has prime times for very specific activities. So I bring this up because just like we have prime times for activities, times where certain activities are best for us to do, I think there's also just certain weather patterns that are best for us to perform in. For me personally, like I said, I like the sunlight. If it's sunny outside, I find that I am just way more productive when I'm outside in the sun doing things, like working outside on my laptop or whatever when it's sunny out. For you, it could be the opposite. Maybe you like to work inside when it's rainy out, or maybe you like to work outside too when it's rainy. That's cool too, whatever you like. I know some people that like it better when it's snowing, and they find the snow to be calming and pretty, and it makes them relax more. And when they're relaxed, they work more diligently and they work longer. And maybe there's that deterrent too of if there's snow outside, people aren't going anywhere, so there's no FOMO that kind of keeps them from getting work done. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's good to keep track of the weather for those reasons. It's, in a way, your prime time. So hopefully I've beaten that point down past the studs, whatever. So, next thing, big rocks. I've said this before in different videos. I have said this I think it's in the Better Than Gold ebook. Maybe. I'm not too sure. It might be. I know I've done videos on it before. And I teach this to all of my coaching clients. Big rocks are the main things that move you toward your progress and your goals. So, for example, if you want to go to the gym, if you want to get in better shape, let's say you have a specific goal, and again, this is the importance of goals, because you have to reverse engineer the goals to figure out what these big rocks are. If you have a specific goal of gaining 5 pounds of muscle in a quarter, your big rocks are most likely going to be going to the gym, dieting effectively, and probably as a side note to dieting, finding the right meal plan. And then probably a fourth/third one, depending on how you number them, might be finding a good routine that will allow you to build muscle. So these are the main things, the big rocks, the main things that you need to do every single day to get you in the right direction, to help you progress toward your goals. Typically, what I recommend, have 3 to 5 big rocks at a time. And I also call these like your core 5, your core 3, your core 1. But have specific things that you need to do every single day of the week that progress you towards your goal. And this is going to be up to you to figure out. If you are a coaching client, I help you figure out what these big rocks are. But if you're not one of my clients, you got to figure out what your big rocks are. What's going to actively and objectively lead you to the goals that you want. And then once you find out what those big rocks are, you have to do them. And then you schedule them every single day in the order that best fits your prime time and in the order that best fits the urgency / importance of that task, of that rock. Hopefully there's no confusion with that. And the reason why there's so many lines is because chances are, for a lot of goals, you're not going to have just one step to get there. There's probably going to be a lot of steps to get there. I think when it comes to a big rock, you have to really figure out what are the main 1 to 5 things. But some goals might be a lot more complicated, and they might require a lot more lines. I mean, plus the lines are thin too, which is why I'm just explaining why the lines are like this. So one big rock might take up 5 lines, but hopefully that makes sense. This is what this section's for. Then you have kind of for tomorrow. I recommend just kind of putting bullets and the things that you haven't been able to do today, or the things that you think you need to do tomorrow, put them as bullets. For tomorrow, I need to work out. For tomorrow, to help me make 10K a month, I need to do outreach to 100 people cold. To get a girlfriend in the next quarter, I need to schedule 5 dates tomorrow. I need to send 20 DMs to 20 girls tomorrow. Hopefully, you get the point. You get the point that I'm trying to make here. It's just your to-do list for tomorrow. Things that are really important, though. So then we get into the daily planner itself. And I think the daily planner is a lot more straightforward than this section up here. So kind of once I get through one day, obviously it applies to every single day. Today's date, like I said, it's good to keep track of the date. If you have this cover sheet, you'll keep track of it this way. But I think this style right here, keeping track of the date here, kind of just helps let you know what day it is, really what you did that day. This is more of a narrow way to view the day. Again, it's like a cover sheet. This is the more broad, or I'm sorry, I said that wrong. This is the broad way to view your day. This is the more narrow way to view your day. And by looking at your day this way, to me, this is the thing that will really help you drive progress in whatever your goals are. So like I mentioned, if you have big rocks kind of in this section right here, you're going to put your top 3 big rocks here. What are your top 3 goals for the day? And by the way, this isn't on here, but I always recommend people plan your day the night before. Don't plan the day of. To me, that's already too late. Plan the day the night before. It doesn't have to specifically be at night, but my point is to plan it the day before. And the reason why I say night is because usually by 8, 9, 10 p.m. before you go to bed, your day is finished and you have an idea of what you got done and what you didn't get done and what you need to do tomorrow. If you try to plan out your day, say at 12 p.m. the previous day, say it's Sunday at 12 p.m. you're trying to plan out your Monday. To me, the problem is that the day's not over yet and you could get a lot more done. You might put a task, say at 2 p.m. that could just be done today, right now, on Sunday. Does that make sense? So the day's not over yet. So you can't really effectively plan out the following day if you haven't completed today. Hopefully that makes sense. Plus, as a side thing too, there's this psychological, it's not a bias, I can't think of the correct word to describe it, but basically there's a psychological trick that you can play on yourself called the recency and the primacy effect. And basically what those things are is in the morning, the first thing you look at stays in your mind all day. And at night, the last thing you look at also stays in your mind the entire next day. So to me, when you kind of go to bed, or before you go to bed, if you plan out your following day, it really lets you keep your plans and your goals top of mind that following day. I'm going to say before you wake up, but really as you're waking up. And I say before you wake up because I truly think that you are driven by your subconscious a lot, and this almost programs your subconscious to do certain things that previous day. Kind of a quick side tangent, but it's related. I've heard from people, and I've heard this specifically from Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory. He doesn't use an alarm. He might now, but I saw a video where he said that he does not use an alarm to wake up. He goes to bed and thinks about the time he wants to wake up. And by doing that, his brain, his subconscious, wakes him up the next day. And I found this to be relatively true with myself too. I can't say this works for everybody, but I imagine to some degree it probably does, where if you go to bed expecting or desiring to wake up at a certain time or to do certain things, your subconscious more easily pushes you in that direction. If you want to wake up at 5 a.m., your body's probably going to start waking you up around 5 a.m. or 5:30-ish, probably not in the dot, but around that time, which is advantageous to you. Or if you want to be super productive or go to the gym, your subconscious will kind of nudge you in that direction to go to the gym or to be more productive or to do specific things. So by writing your plan out the day before, you're almost programming your subconscious to make things easier for you and to force you, almost like hypnosis, to get things done. So that's also why I recommend doing it the night before. To-do list. The to-do list is kind of just like little things that you want to do kind of in your free time. Like, for example, you say you plan out from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. one of your big rocks, like your most important big rock. You get it done maybe from like 2 to 5. You have kind of a gap, and it's, for whatever reason, your break period. Maybe you can knock off things from your to-do list. And these are like what I call small rocks or pebbles or water, like the little things that don't matter that much, but they're still somewhat important. Like, this is true for me, cleaning my room. I do not make cleaning my room a priority, and the main reason is because I don't think it affects me that much. I know some people say, like, if your room is cluttered, and to a degree I do believe this. They say, like, oh, if your room is cluttered or if your desk is cluttered, it affects the way you think, it affects your performance, it affects your productivity. I do agree to an extent, but in the grand scheme of things, I think doing the work is just the thing you have to do, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how you think you'll perform. So if my goal for the day is to edit a video for 3 hours, and I can choose between editing the video or cleaning my room, I'm going to edit the video. I'm not going to clean my room, because cleaning the room is a low priority task. And if I clean my room, I might get distracted. I might go on Instagram. I might not finish. It might take longer than it needs to. It's very low priority. So it's a to-do list activity. It's not a main rock. It's not a big rock. Video editing in this situation would be. So it's here. It's good for you to, you can also jot down things that come up that you need to do. Like if you need to go to the post office, for example, drop off a letter, schedule an appointment, like a dental appointment or an eye appointment or something, or medical appointment, or schedule a phone call again. This is probably the area. This is the area to write those things down. As you can see, there's no specific time attached to them. There's just little kind of circles here where you can check it off. That's the reason why. These are really small things that you're supposed to put down that don't matter that much right here and right now, but they're good to keep in mind for the following day. They're potential big rocks. And then there's the schedule itself. And this is probably one of the most important things you can have. Now, as you can see, the whole schedule is mapped out by the hour. Typically, because I recommend scheduling your day by the hour. I think that's the most effective way to structure your day. I think half an hour is too short for a lot of things. I think 2 hours can be easily placed in this planner. Like you can visually see 2 hours because it's all an hour. And then anything else is just kind of like a weird number. Like if you take an hour and 10 minutes to do something specifically, that's just kind of strange. So an hour I think is perfectly fine. It's easy to kind of see on a sheet of paper like this or a calendar. And like I said, map out your full schedule. The earliest time I have on here is 6 a.m. There are some lunatics like me that wake up at 5 a.m. If you don't, that's totally fine. If you do, feel free to just write in 5 a.m. in a line. It's completely fine. And the last time I have is 11 p.m. Again, there's some lunatics that go to bed at like 12 a.m. or even 1 a.m. Totally okay. If you go to bed at 1 a.m., you should probably just put that like at the very top somewhere of the next day. But whatever. Obviously, you get the point. If you need more space, make more space for yourself. But in general, these slots should be enough. And then what you can do is just write down the things you want to do, the things you plan on doing. If you are going to go through deep work, like Alex Ramosi, from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m., put on each time, on each line, deep work, deep work, deep work, deep work. And then specifically write down what kind of deep work you're doing. Put like deep work, write a chapter of my book. Deep work, write a chapter of my book. Be very specific, be very clear. Let yourself know exactly what you're doing so you're not wasting time trying to decipher your own schedule or figure out what needs to be done. So, I think you get the gist of it. Make sure there are no gaps. There shouldn't be any gaps. You should always have something planned out. Even if it's downtime, have it planned out. And I know people say, oh, well, that's robotic. You're just being like a slave to yourself. No, you don't have to abide by it if you don't feel like it all the time. But it's good to at least have an idea of what you wanted to get done that day. You can always put it off. If it's not that important, you can always put it off until the next day or a future date. That's totally okay in some situations. But fill up the entire calendar and be specific. Don't put like random tasks that don't need to get done. Don't put things that are low priority. And don't put fluff. Like, don't just put something just to put something. Put something that actually matters. Take a few minutes to actually plan your day out effectively. It sounds simple, but most people don't do it. And if more people did do it, it would make all the difference in their lives. So, and as you can kind of see, it's the same every day. Monday through Sunday, all the same. And that is the end of the planner. So, I know this video is a bit long. Hopefully you managed to get through all this. Like I said, by the way, if you did manage to get through this and you're interested in the Better Life Blueprint course, which is super, it's long, but I think it's fantastic. I think it'll help you if you feel, especially if you feel lost in life. The time management mastery course, plus my other time management content, plus the Better Life Blueprint is almost guaranteed to make your life better significantly. And the only reason why I say almost guaranteed is because I know for most people, they're not going to do the work. So if you don't do the work, then you can't expect the benefits of the work. So if you are someone that's going to do the work, it is guaranteed to benefit you. If you're going to be someone that's going to be lazy or half-ass it's not going to work. So I wouldn't guarantee it for you because you're not putting in the effort. But if you're interested, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, just ask for it. Say like, I want the Better Life Blueprint course for free, and I'll send it to you for free. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you get a lot out of this. Hope you start using your planner right away. And I hope to see you conquer your goals as soon and as quickly as possible. Peace out. Keep killing it.